everyone, and welcome to today's workshop. I'm Lisa May and I'm the founder of Lisa May & Co, and this workshop is all about driving traffic to your website. I'm not going to be talking about any sort of traffic driver that you're not aware of, but I am hopefully going to chat to you in a way where you can look at some of these platforms a little bit differently. You're probably doing all of them in a certain way, but I want to be able to guide you through maybe different ways in which you can use them and maybe get you to think about them as more so a traffic driver than something that we are instantly trying to get sales from. So my name's Lisa May and I am the founder of Lisa May & Co. I have worked in the corporate industry for over 20 years. There is no job that I haven't done. And during 2020, I decided to set up my own agency supporting independent brands, independent product brands, people who wanted to be a little bit more than the shop small community, who wanted to be held at a higher level, who were willing to take on some of the resources, some of the tools and experience that I've built up having worked with huge organisations such as Jack Wills, Diesel, and my last role as European brand manager at Eileen Fisher. And yeah, it's been amazing. I love supporting you. I love supporting women who are ambitious and passionate and enthusiastic and determined to be more, like I said, than just a shop small business. So what we're going to be chatting about today, we're going to be looking at what is traffic driving, because I sometimes think that we just hope that we can get people on our website and snap of our fingers, they're going to result in a sale. And it doesn't work like that. We have to really break out the customer journey, which we will look at slightly. So you can really identify, I'm getting them onto my website this way, and I want them to do this. Yes, we want them to go onto our website and we want them to make a sale, but ultimately it just doesn't work like that. And I think that if we can step away from that mentality and start looking at it as, okay, so this is point A, B, C, D, E in the journey, we can then start to identify what part of the journey isn't working, because it's not all of it. And sometimes if one bit doesn't work, that's where the chain breaks. So we're going to look at what traffic driving is across multiple platforms. And then we're going to start to look at the 5 different ways in which we can physically drive traffic to our website. None of these are reinventing the wheel. You've got social media, Pinterest, SEO, networking, and email marketing. So first of all, what is traffic driving? It's a nudge or an encouragement or a suggestion for people to go onto your website. It is not reliant on nudge, encouragement, or gesture onto your website to result in a sale. It has to be about value driven. It has to be about exciting and inspiring your customers. It has to be time sensitive sometimes. It can be regarding social proofing or FOMO. There's lots and lots of different ways that we can create. I like to call them conversations, not content, not social media posts, not email marketing. Create conversations that you want to have with your customer, whether that is talking about a product, whether that is talking about all these different customers who've seen it and who've loved it, whether it is about the lifestyle in which your products can be seen, whether it is about the benefits, the USP, how this differs. You have to create conversations. If you've got somebody sat in front of you and you want to talk to them, where you put those conversations, we're going to look a little bit at today. But if we can start looking at our marketing as it's a conversation with our audience, it will have a far bigger impact rather than going, I'm going to put this social media post up because I want people to make a sale. Like it just doesn't work like that. I mean, it used to. Maybe it used to in the very, very early days of digital marketing because it was just so new. But nowadays it just doesn't. We've got to do a little bit more work. So you might be able to give somebody some real value behind the product. It could be values based on the brand. You could be a brand that only champions British made products, or a slow fashion, or sustainability is at the heart of what you do, or vegan products. However you think that you're going to resonate with your customer. Could be you are a business that wants to support busy women. So your website is no messing. We're going to tell you what to buy. We're going to tell you how to buy it. It's great quality, but it's all catered to women who don't have time. that is an audience. That is something that you can echo and you can share with your customers as part of your value driving activities. Excite and inspire, it is what it is. Just get people excited by the product, get them to imagine themselves how they could use it, the lifestyle, the scenario in which they're going to be able to use that product. Time sensitive is things like, oh, sneak peek or last chance, or have you seen this, or you guys are loving. It's kind of like, you know, that we've got to have a bit of a look now. You're not saying to go and buy it, but you are offering a certain element of time sensitiveness to it. And then obviously you've got your social proofing and your FOMO. So that is where you just share other happy customers. There is no better marketing than happy previous customers. That speaks volumes more than what you would ever be able to articulate through any sort of digital marketing. So basically, traffic driving is a reason to get them onto the website, and it isn't about please buy this, please buy this, please buy this. It has to be about, oh my goodness, have you read this article about how these are the 5 ways in which you can make the most out of your candles? Have you read this article? We're sharing 6 tips to sprinkle spring into your home. Maybe if you're an interior design brand, like a home furnishing sort of interiors company. 3 things the only 3 things you need this summer the only 3 things you need to add to your summer wardrobe. If you're maybe a women's apparel brand, I want to know what the 3 things are that I need that's apparently going to transform my website, apparently transform my wardrobe. Nowhere in there did you say, please buy this. So you're not making me make a decision. You're not going, please buy this candle. Because as a customer, I'm going to go, no, I don't need a candle. Where I'm obviously following you if you are a candle brand. I obviously like candles. So if you were to say to me, here are 5 ways to get the most out of your candles, do you find your candles burn out really quickly and they're never even and you feel like there's so much wax left in them? Here is how we want you to get the most out of your candles. That I'm interested in. That I'm not going to turn around and say no to. So you have to approach your conversations with your customers as conversations. It's back and forth. It's giving them something for them to be able to respond. Saying to them, please buy this. It's a yes, no answer. It's not a conversation. And that is what traffic driving is. It's a way to initiate that very, very beginning conversation with somebody. You may have to do it time and time and time and time again, but if they're coming back onto your website time and time again, you're slowly but subtly ticking through. It used to be 7 touch points. I'm not sure how many it is now, but pre-pandemic, it was 7 touch points that a customer had got to experience a brand before they made that purchase. So getting them to slowly drip feed onto your website through all of these really subtle, sensitive conversation starters is ticking away at those touch points. They're learning and they're immersing themselves more in that brand every single time. So I kind of just wanted to break out the customer journey for you, because then I think you can really understand what it is that you're trying to achieve in terms of that traffic driver. So the action is to get the traffic to your site. How you do that, you do it through social, you do it through Pinterest, SEO, PR. I'm not going to talk about PR or paid ads because they are ultimately, they come at an investment, and I really wanted to keep this workshop to things that you're already doing, but maybe you could do them a bit differently. Maybe you could look at them a little bit differently. However, it goes without saying that both PR and paid ads are 2 of the really big drivers in terms of getting traffic to your site. The next thing you've got to think about is, okay, so the action is that I want them to get them to my site. How am I going to do that? Rather than asking them to buy, why don't I start to nurture them? And here I've just put a few different things in terms of content that you can do in terms of nurturing, such as blog posts, inspiration, how-to guides, possibly interviews. You know, if you are a women's apparel brand, you could bring in a body expert. You could bring in a makeup artist, you could bring in a hairstylist. If you're somebody who does occasion wear, you could bring in somebody who does bags and accessories to talk with you about your product. You're crossing over the audiences, which is just increasing your brand awareness. but it's also giving you more content that the customer's going to go, oh God, yeah, I do. Like I follow this brand because I like their occasion wear. And yeah, I probably have got a wedding coming up that I could do with something in my hair for that particular wedding. They're going to go onto the website and they're going to read the article. The key thing to note is, and not to deviate, but we have to work on the idea that between the action and the nurture, they're going to do it a lot of times. Like you're going to have to get them coming back a lot of times before you then start onto that convincing. And in order to move them from nurture to convincing, that's where we really need the data caption. And I have included email marketing in terms of traffic driving because you push people to your website through email marketing, whereas through everything else, you've got to convince them to go and have a look at it. So email marketing is the last traffic driver that we're going to discuss, but it's taking them from nurturing to converting, to convincing and converting that your data caption does. So at the end of that blog post, what's the data caption? At the end of that inspiration, what's the data caption? If you're going to host an interview, why don't you do it in a Zoom sort of capacity, and then you can capture people's data in order for them to be able to join. Maybe you could do a download of 5 tips how to downloadable that they have to pop their email in to be able to capture that data, because we can keep nurturing them through that action and nurture process, social post to website, social post to website, social post to website. But if we can, we're relying upon the algorithm, we're relying upon them seeing them, we're relying upon all of the noise that's happening in social media. If we can capture them at some point, if we can capture that data, we're then in a position to really be able to start convincing them, which we'll come to later on in the workshop, in terms of how we take that conversation and we build it into a relationship. In that convincing stage, you have got your automations, you've got your newsletter, 2 very, very useful forms of digital marketing, and they are both exactly the same. You want to build the like, know, and trust factor. You want to nurture through content, and then you also want to be memorable so that they remember, so that when they get that email come through and you're mentioning something, it kind of is a prompt. Oh yeah, oh God, yeah, I've got to, I must remember to do that. I must keep them top of mind for when I need to buy Flossie Ann's birthday present or whatever it is. And then hopefully it's from there that we get that conversion. So if you can now see how traffic driving isn't always about from somewhere to a conversion, how actually it's much longer. And people always say to me, oh, you know, my post's doing this and I'm not getting very much engagement. And I'm like, it's okay, because you should be using all 5 of these ideas to slowly drip feed people onto your website, to continue nurturing and building that relationship and allowing them to be part of your conversation. So hopefully that has helped in terms of the action is just to get them on your website, but then when they're on there, how can we capture that data? Because it's through the data nurturing, the email marketing nurturing, that they're going to be able to come and make a conversion. But we're just going to be looking at the very first part today. So social media felt like the very, very best place to start. We need to rethink the way that we look at social media. It's 100% a platform that can work for you, but it will not drive sales. Like I said at the very beginning, it may have done 5 years ago, 7 years ago. It just isn't that platform anymore. And if you want it to, you're probably going to have to pay for it. And then I say to you, well, we shouldn't be paying people to make purchases within our businesses. We may have to pay to get in front of their attention, but we shouldn't be paying people to make purchases within our business. It won't deliver sales, but it doesn't need to. It needs to be seen as a relationship building tool. It's that thing that will occasionally pop up, a story will resonate, a post will resonate. The best thing that we can do now, and it's the best partner in terms of driving traffic, is the fact that we can put links on our stories. We can take them anywhere. We can take them direct to that blog post. We can take them direct to that great customer review, great customer photo. We can link them straight there. we don't have to hope to get the sale. Like, I often tell so many of the brands that I work with, how often was the last time that you went into your social media analytics and you say the last 3 months? I'd always say to check date on the last 3 months, just because the algorithm changes so often, and what post worked 6 months ago may not be working right now. But look at the last 3 months and look at what got website clicks, look at what got profile visits, because you can have as many likes or comments or saves as you want, but if they're not going onto your website, it's pointless. So look at that content, and it may have been the content that got the least engagement and the least amount of comments and likes, but we don't mind. Comments and likes don't pay the bills. People going onto our website to further immerse themselves into your brand, ticking away on those touch points, capturing that data is what's going to lead to a sale at the end. It is also a really useful tool in terms of data caption. So you can, with whatever provider you work with, I'm a big supporter of Flowdesk, and that has now made lots and lots of changes in terms of being able to accommodate product-based businesses through Shopify. You can be popping that Flowdesk form right in your stories. We're going to be holding a secret sale next weekend. To get the exclusive hidden link, drop your email address here. So again, it's making that customer journey really easy. So they haven't got to go onto the link in your bio, scroll all the way down to the bottom of your website to drop their email address in, because I would imagine most of you only keep your email signups at the very bottom of your website. Or you probably really annoy them and pop up straight away, 2 seconds having landed on your website. So it is a really great tool, but you just have to see it as one part of the puzzle. It's just one piece of the cake in order to be able to get people to come onto your website. So stop thinking about it as, I've got to, from this post, I have to take sales. No, from this post, I'd really like to get 5 people to go onto my website and read that blog post. I'd really like 5 people to go and look at that collection. I'd really like 5 people to make an inquiry through some sort of channel of the customer services that you offer. You've just got to get people to take the first step. That is what traffic driving is. And at the moment, that is all that you can expect to get from social media. Gosh, I sound very naggy. The next one is Pinterest. Now, this is one that I definitely think is one to watch. It is quickly growing, and it is very, very quickly turning into a shopping platform. It has had a lot of affiliation with lots of different shopping platforms in the US. I think it's only going to continue to grow. If you look at the paid advertisement that you see on Pinterest, you've got John Lewis, you've got Lululemon, Sweaty Betty, you've got Anthropologie, you've got some of the really, really big players in retail are spending an awful lot of their marketing dollars on this platform. If that tells you anything, it tells you that this is a space that you need to take seriously. The intention behind Pinterest is they like regular and consistent pinning. So if you are going to approach a Pinterest strategy, I would definitely use a platform to do so. We personally use Plannerly because it's what we use for our social media, and they also allow you to plan all of your pins. Tailwind, I think Later does it. It's whatever you want, but basically you want to batch all of your content and you want to put it in there, and then you want your scheduler to be filtering out that content 8 times a day for 7 days a week. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail with Pinterest, but the idea that I've just said that you need 8 types of content a day might make people go into an absolute tiz. However, it's one blog post and you would go and create maybe 12 different mini little graphics, the pins, the pictures. So therefore that one blog post has turned into 12 different pins. But if you were to save all of those 12 pins to 2 different boards that are on your website, that then becomes 24 pins. So if I say to you that you now need to post 8 times a day, you're like, oh, okay, that doesn't seem quite so overwhelming. We pin 8 times a day. I'm a business that has a lot of content. As a product-based business, you might decide to pin 3 times a day. As long as you are doing it consecutively every day, you could probably make one blog post last an entire week. We do ours for the month. So we start at the very start of the month and we make sure that we have 30 days worth of pinning, normally a little bit more, 35, just in case we can't get on top of it again for the following month. And we just reuse the content every single month. You can pin to your homepage, you can pin to specific products, you can pin to collections, you can pin to your About You page if it's got a great story about your business. Blog posts is the best thing. The 3 things to think about when you're pinning is it has to be content that will connect. It has to be inspirational. So really be conscious of the little pin graphics that you're creating. And after you've been doing it for about 3 to 4 weeks, go back and have a look at your analytics, because I assure you there will be a really clear divide in what images, colours, styles of pins are getting the most attraction. And it will have nothing to do with where that pin goes and everything to do with what that little graphic looks like. The next thing is evergreen. The third point is it keeps on growing. So the second point is make sure that it's evergreen. Make sure that you are not pinning 5 gifts for Mother's Day, because if I'm coming across that in December, it doesn't make sense. Make sure that it's 5 gifts for mum or 5 gifts for the women in your life. Top tips on how to, just make sure it's very evergreen. Make sure that if you were to have this conversation with somebody, it could be a conversation that you could have 12 months throughout the year. And the third thing is longevity. It will continue to keep growing in views. So some of my best performing pins are the ones that I did right at the beginning of the pandemic when I started pinning, because they just gained momentum. And then as soon as someone likes it or saves it to a board, it gains more momentum. It's the platform that really does keep on giving. And I think the key thing to remember with Pinterest is it is ultimately a search engine. It isn't a social media platform. You don't have to be active. I actually would encourage you to have a business account and don't ever go on it. Just let the scheduler drop the content in, because by doing that, you're telling the search engine algorithm this is the direct content that you want to be feeding into this platform. If all of a sudden you hop on and start Googling vegan gluten-free recipes, it's gonna throw your search engine tactics. So have your own personal one, but have a business one, and just let the scheduler keep scheduling, and don't have any Halloween children costume searches get in the way. The other reason why it's predominantly a search engine is it wants to kick you off the platform. Social media really wants to keep you as a customer, as a browser on the platform. Pinterest wants to kick you off, as does Google. It warrants the success of pins on how quickly somebody went off them. Google tracks its success based upon, okay, so we searched for this person clicked on it, but actually within 4 or 5 seconds, it bounced straight back off the website. Google now will think twice, Pinterest will think twice about sharing somebody that particular link again, because it didn't deem to be successful. The search engine didn't do the right job by putting the right customer in front of the right content to answer their problems. So really make sure that you are looking at the content which is evergreen. So they're going to want to be able to look at it all the time. Make sure that it's inspiring, make sure that it's something that people are going to connect with and resonate with and potentially want to save to one of their own boards. The next thing I want to talk about is SEO. It is still worth its time and investment. It has lost a little bit of its momentum since we've seen the increase in paid ads. But I would also say to you, how can you compare something that is technically free to something that is paid? So obviously, organic SEO is never going to live up to the expectations of paid marketing. However, it can still be very, very valuable. But you have to put the work in beforehand to allow the SEO techniques to be working. So first of all, you have to think to yourself, what are people searching when they search into Google? Because like I just said, in terms of Pinterest, it wants to connect its customers to the best possible result that's going to be able to solve their problems. So there's no problem in starting a blog post with, what are the best ways to make your candle last longer? Because if you have got that written in your blog post and it matches directly to something that somebody's searching in a search term in Google, Google's going to go, oh, hold the phone. This person's going to answer this question really, really well. So be mindful of that. Be mindful of what your customers will be searching and that you could be the answer for. You know, start a blog post with, what are the top gift purchases for mums? Because somebody is going to be searching that somewhere in the world and you want to rank fairly high for it. The next thing to remember is everything is absolutely searchable. So that is the names of your pictures, your product descriptions. We've mentioned your blogs, things like your contact and about you pages. Everything is searchable on your website. So make sure you're fueling it with as much, I think it's metadata in the background as absolute possible, because that is how you are going to show up on Google and go, hold a second, I am going to be able to answer this customer's questions straight away. So it's not going to be comparable to paid marketing because it's not thrusting your product or your company in front of customers. But what it is doing is when a customer is in a place where it wants to find something, it's then introducing them after they have started the conversation to want to be able to get the product in front of them. The fourth one, and probably the last one in terms of getting people on your site organically, is networking. And I think it's incredibly underrated. The advantage of networking, rather than having a conversation with one person, you are ultimately potentially speaking to many customers at the same time. Now, this is something that as a service-based provider, I do see an awful lot of success with networking communities or small business communities, because obviously I'm putting myself out there and lots of people are able to see me at once. And I can really see that when the activity on my website is really reflective sometimes on when I know that I'm quite active in those spaces. But it works just the same for product-based businesses. If you are a company that can support a mum, be in a mum group and chat about various different things in your group. It can be business groups, but it can also be customer groups as well. And then networking, let people know what you're doing about your business. Go out and sort of really champion yourself as somebody who should be taken seriously and people want to have a look at. I think sometimes as independent businesses, we sort of say, oh no, I'll put my product out and people will find it and then people will really like it and then people will just buy it. It doesn't work like that. You've got to put your product in front of somebody, not expect them to find it. You've got to tell people why they really want it rather than expecting them just to fall in love with it. And you've then got to encourage them and persuade them to buy that product rather than just expecting them to buy it off of their own back. So networking is maybe more of a mindset shift in terms of how you portray and talk about your business, but it has real impact with the way in which your brand comes across. LinkedIn, another of a great platform in terms of service-based businesses, in terms of product-based businesses that people don't take seriously. A lot of people on LinkedIn have a lot of disposable income because they're in the corporate world. They still need candles and women's wear apparel brands, and they're probably looking for something a little bit different because they don't want to trek to the high streets for it because they don't have time for it. So I think that just being really mindful around the different places in which you can network and put your business out there is key. Now, the last thing I want to chat to you about is obviously email marketing. Now, this is traffic driving with a difference because you already technically have them. They're in your pool of people. So you need to be pushing them to your site rather than in all of the other traffic drivers that we've been looking at. You're convincing them to go on the site. You can put a great picture of your product, a customer review, and then a button that says shop here. So you're almost pushing them to where they need to go versus with your other traffic driving activities, you're kind of dangling it and going, oh, please come and have a look at this. You can be much more forceful, much more direct in terms of your approach and the conversations that you're having with them. So first of all is the automation. So that is when somebody has instantly decided to join you, or they've accessed that secret sale, or they've downloaded something, or they've read that blog post. It's the continuation of the conversation authentically. If they have taken the leap to give you their email address, you need to respond quickly. They've said, you've offered them something. They've said, oh yeah, that's great. You need to come back. You need to be able to respond. You need to give them more while they're warm. Then you have your newsletter, which is more about continuing the conversation regularly. Get into the habit of sending communication out. Let them know when that communication is going to be coming out. I send a weekly newsletter every single Monday. I know I have clients that send it the second and fourth Thursday, or the first of every single month. So make sure that you are building a regular rapport so that they can start to, if you remember from the very beginning on the very first slide where we were talking about building that like, know and trust factor, popping up regularly with great, consistent, authentic information is 100% what's going to make them keep opening. So when they see that product that they quite like, that you're pushing them to, they're going to click the button to be able to move across. And then lastly, you've got the exclusivity. You need to make them feel like they are of a different level to all of the other people, to the social followers, to the Pinterest followers, to people searching Google that have never been on your website before, to Flossian who's never experienced your website and has just popped up through networking. You've got to make these people feel like they're really valued. And that is where you really start to deepen and build the conversation, because you're giving them that. It's almost like they're building a rapport with you. They know what's happening in your life. They can learn to expect and what they can experience from you in the longer term. Like they feel connected. You know, it's only the same as watching some of these reality TV shows, because there's that regularity to it. We feel like we've built a relationship with them, but it's actually incredibly one-sided because they know nothing about us on the flip side. But that is what it does. It allows them to build a authentic feeling towards you, which is ultimately what is going to be able to lead to those conversions, which is why it's the very last phase in that customer journey. The action to get them to the website, the nurturing, the converting, the convincing into the sale. So let's recap. You have, first of all, what is traffic driving? It is a start of a conversation. It is something to get them interested in. It is absolutely not about asking them to make a purchase. It's about starting that conversation. The next one is social media. And I think we really need to shift our mindset in terms of, I don't expect to get a sale from this, but I do want to see 5 people click on my website having posted it. Pinterest, just a different form and something that people probably aren't taking all that seriously at the moment. But I do believe that in the next 12 to 18 months, Pinterest will definitely be a platform that product-based businesses in particular want to be taken seriously. You then have your SEO. Everything is searchable, pictures, blogs, about you, all of your different pages. Networking, shifting your mindset in terms of how you are approaching your business. And it isn't about people will find you, will love you, and will buy you. It's about, you've got to put your brand in front of people. You've got to tell them why your brand is great, and you've got to convince them to make that purchase. And then last but not least is your email marketing. So this is definitely the last step where you will see the highest level of conversion. We say that you should work on a 2 to 5% conversion. I would say that you could double, if not triple that with your email marketing. If you've got people that are happily sat on there digesting that information, there's no algorithm to compete against. It's data that you own, so no one's going to be able to take it off you, and you can link them directly to your website in one little click. It is the most powerful digital marketing tool at the moment. I mean, goodness, who knows what could come out this time next year. So there you have it. Hopefully that was useful in terms of giving you just a few different ways to think about some of the activity that you're doing in terms of driving traffic to your website, and how you maybe need to shift your mindset a little bit in terms of making some of those decisions in terms of, I'm not going to talk about that particular product. I'm actually going to tell them all the benefits of that product category and how a candle can make you feel really cozy and warm on a awful rainy winter night. I'm not going to say buy the candle, but I am going to sell that imaginary lifestyle to them. So hopefully that was helpful. If you want to get in touch, you can see my details there. You can either find me at lisa-may.com, or I'm sure you'll be able to find me on Instagram.